So this is our attempt at not really a podcast per se, but just being able to have conversations that we think are going to be helpful to other people.
Yeah, and just a nice casual conversation with us, and we hope that you will enjoy it. Hopefully, some of the subjects and some of the topics that we talk about are something of interest to you, and of course they're of interest to us, and that's why we considered making it a podcast. So we don't really know where this is going to go. We just decided to do it and see where it takes us. So
And the first topic that we kind of tossed around when we were contemplating this sort of thing was, I mean, it comes from a place of nostalgia, trying to think back to where we were in high school, think back to what we did, what we wanted to do, how we got into college, where we went, and ultimately, did we get to where we think we would? And what did we do to get there? And what would we have done differently?
right.
So, you want to start? At least start off with where do you? How would you say you were like in high school?
Gosh, I was kind of like a, I don't know. I think we had a strange. We were kind of like, I don't want to say outsiders, but we were just We probably by senior year, we kind of had a nice little group going with between 3 or 4 of us.
Yeah.
There was a couple other people, that were in and out of the group, I suppose. But me personally, I was really into music, and I was really into dance.
You were an artist.
Yeah, an artist, yes. And actually, I guess a starting point was I got my acceptance at SCAD, which is an art school.
I remember that.
And I was really excited about going into SCAD, and I was gonna major in music. What was it? No, it was like music or sound engineering, and minor in dance. And that was kind of the goal at the moment. I don't really recall having much of a foresight for whatever the heck I was going to do. In fact, I remember in junior year, we just finished the SAT like the first time.
Yeah.
And that's when it like just occurred to me, oh shit, I have to go to college, or
There's something outside of high school?
there's
Are you shitting me?
There's things beyond high school. And that just occurred to me. So it was kind of like an eye-opening experience. I was like, oh shit, I have to go to college. So I guess to kind of make a little bit of a long story short, or a really strange whatever the hell was going on in my mind, I was touring SCAD, and I was like, oh, I love this place. It's so unique and it's very cool. It was very unlike any other typical college campus, where it was kind of strewn about the city of Savannah. And I remember I got my acceptance. I had put in my deposit. It was some type of like a room deposit or something. I don't really know what it was called, but
You had a room for a
dorm.
dorm?
Dorm. That was it. And I remember I for some reason I got cold feet, and I just was all of a sudden I was like, no, I don't feel comfortable doing this. So I took a huge step back. I ended up going to a smaller local college to just kind of think things through, and I had no idea what I was going to major in, so I kind of I guess did the standard thing and was like, all right, I'll just major in business. So I did that, and then
A safe bet.
Yeah,
Safe bet.
yeah, I kind of like I had no idea what I wanted to do, so after I think it was during a spring break of that year, I went down to a friend's house in Orlando, and I was talking with them, like, whatever the heck I was up to. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had no plan or anything. I was just like, I think one plan I had was like, oh, I'm going to go to New York and I'm going to live in a shoebox, and it's cool because it's like in New York and music and whatever. And I remember
Very idealistic.
yeah, right. I had a brother-in-law, thankfully, talk some sense into me. And at the time, it was kind of like my dreams were kind of shattered because he was just like, no, just no. And I was like, but you don't understand. I can do it.
I'm different.
Yeah, right. I didn't think I was that, like, just that obnoxious about it. Like, oh, I can do this. But it was kind of like this is what I want to do. Like, every kid has their dream or something. Or something that they're really passionate about and they wanted to do it, but they just did not have the means of doing so, or maybe the talent, or I don't know, but something went wrong. But I was in Orlando, and I had one of my friends. He was suggested military, and I was like, no way, no. And the more I let it kind of simmer over, the more I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll take it into consideration. But so I ended up going to an Army recruiter, and then I took what was it, like a?
You went to an Army recruiter?
Yeah, I went to an Army recruiter.
You mean like one of those ones that are in like strip malls and stuff, like in
This
those
one-
little
yeah, exactly. That's exactly where I was. And I ended, I did the ASVAB and all that stuff, and I was gonna be a linguist because that was something.
Yeah. I remember you saying that because you took the test and that was one of your higher scoring aspects.
Yeah.
And
they were like, because they gave you this test where it was just a random made up language and you had to like decipher it. It was super cool. So that was really fun. But they were pushing me hardcore to go into it. They were like, oh, just, all this great stuff, and you're going to get paid, and it's going to be great, and you're going to have benefits and all this shit. And I got, the more they were just kind of amping it up, the more I was like, I don't feel comfortable. And because I remember them pushing, showing me the document. They were like, yeah, you sign on this dotted line here.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I want to think about it. And I remember going back, and I was like, I don't think I want to do that.
Yeah, they don't like free thinking in the military.
No, well, I mostly just because I wanted to go to college for some strange reason. I was like, no, I need to go to college.
And to put things in perspective as to where we're coming from, we came from a very small boarding school.
Yeah.
A liberal arts boarding school.
Yeah.
So 99% of our graduating class and the graduating classes after us and before us
went to college.
And that was the norm.
It was like the thing to do. Like if you weren't going to college, you were going to be a failure or some shit.
Yeah. And that's a hard peer pressure.
Yeah, definitely was. And if you don't have like major scholarship money or something, and you're really trying to like reach out to go to like a bigger college, it's just like, ugh, dang. But I ended up going to a military college, the Citadel. I ended up going to the Citadel, and that was an experience for sure.
Yeah.
So, but kind of, I guess, long story short, I did my 4 years at the Citadel, and now I am here. I finished college, in December, and now, for a couple of months, I worked at my college, doing IT. I was writing the school's information security policies, which kind of sounds like, oh wow, this is cool. And it gave me a lot of exposure to like the tech realm and what I was like interested in. Mm-hmm. But it was just kind of like there wasn't much growth, and I didn't feel like I was growing.
And you weren't in the best living arrangement either.
No, I was literally in downtown. So even though I was living in downtown Charleston, which is great, I freaking love it there, but I was literally living in like a shoebox of a room. It was I think it was like 8 by 8 or something. It was tiny. It was so tiny. I was living on I was sleeping on a cot, and I had a mini fridge and then a table, and that was basically it. And I had like some lockers that I've put my clothes in, like some foot lockers. And
I remember. I saw you sent pictures.
yeah,
Oh,
it
yeah,
was
I remember that.
was a it was pretty crude setup. It was very makeshift.
So I mean, you went from, so we're talking about liberal arts high school.
Oh yeah,
Immediately, first thought was liberal arts college.
right. Art school, like
Then took a slight departure from that and went to local Baptist school.
Yeah,
which
it was-
a private Baptist
it was- yeah, it was-
college,
yeah.
and then to the Citadel.
Then to the military college.
So a pretty significant swing.
yeah,
And
definitely.
I would say that is the exception to the rule.
yes.
Most people don't follow
probably
that path.
probably, but I think I can have like an interesting comment on a lot of things from our generation. I mean, coming from the liberal side, and then from a lot more of a conservative view on things. So I like to consider myself more of a balanced approach to things. And I've definitely had my swings here and there as far as like I was never very political, but I mean like beliefs, I think kind of like
Shifted a little bit.
what do you call like your idealistic belief about how the world should be, kind of
Like your sense of
how
good and evil, like
things
justice.
I don't know. It's kind of just like how you think the world should be structured. Like this is how it should be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this is how people should think.
Yeah.
Like we got to have these type of rules, and these people got to live this way, not that way. You know what I mean? I had that. It was
Like
kind of,
your foundational beliefs.
yeah, it was
for that.
and that kind of swung back and forth. Some more extreme than others. So, but I think now it's just kind of settled in the middle, and now I'm just kind of just like, hey.
You've leveled out.
Yes, I think so. I think so. So, but yeah, that's just kind of where, and there's a lot of like things I didn't put in there, and just I guess kind of just to encapsulate everything.
Yeah. I mean, I want to hit on some of this moving forward stuff later.
Right.
But my experience was much more traditional. So after graduating high school, I basically did the average. I want to look at all the schools. I want to look everywhere. I want to go to the best place. And then that big thing called money came into play. And I was just looking at the tuitions. I was really looking at Georgia Southern, Berry College, Western Carolina, and to some degree Swanee, not really,
Right.
but didn't really, and in Georgia. And when it really came down to it, I wasn't a big fan of Athens at the time because I wanted
Was it just a party school, or
we came from 7 years, or at least I did 7 years
oh yeah,
at a private school. I wanted a traditional college experience.
Yeah.
So I was like, screw it, not going to go to Athens.
Yeah.
Georgia Southern's campus was beautiful. Barry's campus was beautiful. So when I got to those two, it boiled down to which one's the cheapest. Or really, that was my first reaction. And then that kind of matured into which one is the best value.
Right.
And I didn't see the value coming from Barry like I did Georgia Southern. Because I did the research into the business school and some of the, the pre-law, the pre-professional programs they had in place. Because at the time...
Yeah, what were you going? I was going to say, what
Yeah.
was your plan or your...
My plan was
like pre-law, wasn't it? or
somewhere
something?
it was in the pre-law realm.
Yeah.
I thought, I was, of course, because in my mind, I was like, all the people that we were in high school with and stuff were super overachievers. And
Oh,
like, well,
yeah. They
the
were
best
hardcore.
way to keep up with the Joneses in that aspect is grad school, right?
Right.
It was like law school, because I knew I wasn't going to go for anything else because I didn't have the math brain or the science. Mm-hmm. So it make that happen. So I was like, go to pre-law,
Yeah,
kind of followed
law
along that
school,
path.
whatever.
And I found out within the first like 2 months that I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
I had some sort of epiphany. It was like, I know I'm not going to do that. And I switched over to marketing because I knew marketing had that balance of real world business application with the soft science, sociology, psychology side of how people think, buying behavior, stuff like that. So I'm still working between what I like, but trying to mix in stuff I thought would be applicable.
Yeah, I think that was a very popular major at the time too. Like
yeah.
everyone was like, not everyone, but I mean, a lot of people were like marketing. Marketing. I think maybe it was just because the economy or something needed people, needed marketers.
And it's very broad.
It is
It's
very.
very
It
broad.
is. That is true. It is a very broad. And there's so many things you can end up doing in marketing. It's crazy. There's just all kinds.
And that's
of stuff.
that's kind of what you need when you're going into a 4-year program, and
You need options.
you want options, but you
Yeah.
don't know what you want.
Yeah.
Most people might have an idea of things that they would like, but most people aren't able to say with 100% chance, I want to do this.
Right.
This is me. I've prepared for it. I'm ready to go. So
Yeah.
I knew that was going to give me the most options.
Or have like the self
Awareness.
the self-awareness to be able to say, oh, well, I am really good at math, so I'm going to do this. This is the most objective minded thing that I can think of, for me, or say like I'm excellent writer, I'm going to major in English or pre-law, and
Seen
then
a lot of that coming out of our school.
yeah. So and it's just, I think for the majority of people that we're going into college or we're just kind of like, I don't know, and just kind of I don't want to say took a wild guess, but
A shot in the
a shot in the dark. They had like an idea of what they might want to do.
Yeah.
So
And you experiment. I mean, that's part of,
yeah,
and that's one thing I think is very important about college is that you get the opportunity to experiment and kind of get your toes in the water with a bunch of different things.
yeah,
And then you see people flip-flop, different degrees of flip-flopping between things.
oh yeah,
But for me, and I kept on marketing, and then I started looking for things to complement it. So I started off with, I did 3 classes of Chinese. So I was going to do Chinese minor.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where it was never hard, but I knew I didn't want to take the remaining classes because I wasn't going to get anything out of it. I knew that unless I was like fluent, I wasn't going to get value out of that minor. And I was like, I need to switch to something more technical. I need something to help me along that line. So I switched to information systems.
that was a good.
And that's when I started getting experience with database work, ERP work, BI stuff, and really trying to position myself as
Right.
a business major with the technical background.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's where my degree, and I didn't change
Yeah.
I never changed my major after that. My minor had some tweaks to it, kind of with some of the concentrations behind the IS side, but never changed it after that.
Yeah, that was. I wish I. Oh man, I would have wished that my school had that option, like the IS. It was just each college or department, I guess, because this is a smaller.
Yeah.
This is a whole
We
college.
had colleges.
Yeah,
You had departments.
we had departments.
Yeah.
Because there's about like a little over 2,000 cadets there. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty. It's not. I
That's
guess
small.
it's small.
My
Would you
school is
say?
considered medium, and we were
Really?
about 22,000.
Large is like UGA
Yeah,
was
you're
like
looking
45.
from like 45 up.
Wow,
I would say, yeah.
2,000. But yeah, so our departments were they were like somewhat separated, so it was really and I don't know, just the layout of the campus and stuff maybe, but they didn't have any sort of like technical aspect of
Yeah.
business other than accounting, and that's what I ended up going into. Was they have these things called pathways in the business department. Yeah, I know. Pathways. And it was like it's basically it's almost as if I was like double majoring. It was crazy. I was taking so many dang hours, but it was like like I said, I did the accounting pathway, but they had like a entrepreneurship pathway. They had the accounting pathway. They had the finance pathway, and they had the supply chain pathway. I think that was it. That was pretty much, and then you could just be a general business, or you could mix and match whatever the heck you wanted to do in the business realm. But they never had any sort of computer science-y. I think they had like
They didn't have like IT.
No IT.
Like you couldn't be an IT major.
No, they had computer science.
Okay.
But no, nothing else other than that. So,
That's very limiting.
yeah. So I kind of just, I guess another strange because I flip flopped a lot during my time at the Citadel. So, one portion was I was planning on being I was going a Navy route. I was with the Navy unit, and I was in line to get my 2-year Navy scholarship, but of course I had a relationship during that time. That relationship definitely had my mind in the wrong place. And I ended up dropping the whole thing. I was number one in line to get this thing, and oh man, it would have helped out for sure. That was probably one of the.
But then again, you would have had to take that route.
Yeah,
you would have been for it.
I mean, yeah,
could be a blessing in disguise.
It could have been. So there shoulda, coulda, woulda. There's a ton of different things, but I ended up getting out of that, and I was a history major during that time first semester. No, I was all over the place. So I was a history major for a semester, and I said screw that.
Yeah.
Especially after I dropped the Navy thing, and I said I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna be a history teacher, so I'm not gonna major in history. So I ended up going back into business. And at that time, I had spoken to a wise man, and he was kind of giving me some career advice and this, that, and the other. And he was recommending me. He's like, well, if you want to understand the language of business, study accounting. So I was like, okay, that sounds good. I'd taken a couple of intro accounting courses, and I felt pretty good at it. So I was like, why not? And I did it, and I did fairly well. And I got another long story short, I managed to get an internship with one of the big 4 accounting firms, and during the internship, it was great. The people were really nice, but I just did not click with them. I just did not. I don't know what it was. Like I said, they were nice, and this was a smaller office too. This was in Greenville, South Carolina. This was a small office, but I just did not click. It didn't interest me as much as I thought it would have. There was I was more interested in the tech part of it. My whole goal at this moment was, I want to be an auditor for tech companies. Yeah. But then I started to realize I was more interested in technology than the auditing.
Yeah.
So, I kind of did some evaluating, and I think it was very good that I didn't get my full-time offer with KPMG, because it probably wouldn't have been the best thing in the world for me. I probably would have just really not liked what I was doing.
But a lot of people take that grind. A lot of people will go into accounting, especially.
Oh yeah.
Will go in entry-level accounting. They will fight for those positions, and they will grind that stuff out.
Yeah.
Because you make a substantial amount of money starting off.
Yeah.
In that.
Yeah, you do. But man, you are going to work your ass off.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're going to work. like even as an intern, they had me a couple of times working till like 9 o'clock at night. That's like during slow season. That's like nothing. Some guys were. I remember some of the guys were telling me like, oh, I was up until 3 in the morning, and I went back to my apartment, slept an hour, and came back and started the next. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
god.
I'll gladly say that as a millennial, that work-life balance thing is important to me.
Yeah.
There's a difference between paying your dues and being a slave.
Yeah, I can agree with. I can definitely see that. I mean, for me, it depends. I would rather grind it out for something that I'm really passionate about and that I really like. Like, for instance, what I'm doing now with this software development type of work. I don't mind staying up till 2 in the morning trying to figure out how the hell to, get my web app running on this browser. That to me, it's just, I don't know, that doesn't bother me as much. Whereas if I was working for this big four accounting firm and I'm trying to like do some auditing crap or whatever, and I'm up at 2 in the morning, I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I doing here? What am I doing in my life? But people, different strokes for different folks, as they would say.
I mean, I think that's an important thing. If I'm talking to somebody who is either just coming out of college or is maybe junior or sophomore, trying to figure out what path they're going to take, is taking a path that has them enough options where they can do some of this flip-flopping and find that thing that they would like to grind at.
Yeah.
Finding that thing. But you can't always do that if you limit yourself based on your degree. So if you go into school and get yourself a degree in, let's say you get a degree in something like Spanish.
Okay.
And you minor in a soft science, psychology, sociology, or something. You have put yourself in a position where
very
traditionally
limited
and straightforward, you're limiting yourself to academic roles. These are things that their applications in the real world need very specific direction. You're not going to be able to just walk in somewhere and say, I have a degree in Spanish and sociology. They're going to look at you and go, what can you do for us?
Yeah.
Unless you're going to be able to translate directly for employees or something that they have, or clients.
Yeah.
You're limiting yourself.
Yeah.
That's where it doesn't always hurt to have a broad approach and then over time narrow down to something that makes more sense.
I think there was one, I forgot where I read this, but it was something to do with, they're not, like a business isn't buying, I don't know, what was it? It was something to do with, the business is buying your time, or people are paying for your time. Like, like if you hire on like a CPA or something, you are, they charge like an hourly rate for something. You're buying their expertise, their knowledge, their time, or whatever. And you got to think of it like in a business's perspective. What value, what sort of, if they hire me on, what kind of value, and you could be a freaking mathematical genius with a Spanish degree and you minored in psychology. But to get your foot in the door with a lot of businesses, they're going through stacks and stacks of resumes and stuff. What are the odds? They're not going to know that you're a freaking mathematical genius. And, you can't just say, "Oh, I'm a math genius" on there. They're going to be like, "Oh, who's this guy?" Yeah, they see just a Spanish degree and a minor in psychology. Whoop, next page. Next resume. So, it's just that's, people like don't like that, but that's just kind of how it is.
Well, people get told a lot of the time in college. I mean, I would say more at the state school, lower end level, that if pursuing a purely academic route or something like we're talking about that's real world applications are more vague, is a waste of your time. And there's a stigma toward it because a lot of the people coming in at that level are just trying to get a job.
Yeah.
Because you're worried. People are worried about the job market.
Yeah.
They're looking at, you look at, coming out of 2008 when so many people lost their jobs when the housing market bubble crashed.
Mm-hmm.
You had, that affected everybody. Our entire economy basically took a big fat dump.
Yeah,
and that is what that sense of fear lasts generations. Mm-hmm. So people's, their parents were telling them like, look, you need to have something that, and this is in teachers included. They're saying you need to have something applicable. And I know that can steer people it can irk someone to say, what do you mean my Spanish and psychology dual degree is not useful? It's useful in a very select amount of cases.
Right.
But in reality, college is supposed to be preparing you for something in the real world. Something that you can make a living doing.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you have to do that for the rest of your life.
Right.
But you should hopefully be gaining some sort of real world skill.
Yeah.
That's why I think technical schools really, I believe they should be on the rise if they're not.
Oh, they definitely are. For sure.
People are looking at that. We're talking about money earlier. And people being able to pay for school. If somebody can go in, get a 2-year degree to tech school, and whatever it may be, whether it's doing air conditioning or working on cars or anything like that, you can make a solid living out of that. And that's not something you have to do for the rest of your life. You can always come back and do school. It'll be different.
Yeah.
It'll definitely be different.
Yeah, you won't have, I guess what most people think, you won't have the typical college experience. Like, you're not going to be with the frat and, you're not, oh, I'm 20 years old and I'm, I'm going to...
blacking out. Drunk.
Right. I'm going to get sloshed and we're going to go to the craziest parties. It's going to have, the hottest...
I can tell you did not have the traditional college experience.
No, yeah, that's definitely for sure. I did not. Here and there, I had my moments, but for the most part, I did not have the very... So it's, my input probably isn't that...
Speaking of which, where is my beer? There it is. Okay,
oh,
continue.
I drank all mine. Dang it. We're out of beer. But what was I going? Oh yeah, I did not have the typical college experience. So, but I think where my experience excelled in was being put in really uncomfortable situations and dealing with it. Like, I was a very shy, introverted type of person. Yeah. Definitely kind of I don't want to say meek, but I definitely was not very outspoken, had this...
You were very type B.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't want to... Because there's so many things now that are like, are you the alpha dog or the beta, you know what I mean? And I never consider myself beta, but I just kind of was like... I didn't, I saw alpha, you think of alphas, you think of jocks and douchebags. But yeah, so the Citadel definitely put me in there were some uncomfortable things, from just yelling and screaming, people yelling and screaming at you, and just the time crunch, day in, day out, there's a grind, there's some long days, from waking up at 5 a.m, straight for PT, getting out there, and even in the winter time, it's just cold and you're miserable, and then you got your breakfast, and you got your formation, then you got your breakfast, then you got your morning classes, and it's just a grind. You got all those classes packed in the morning. Then you got your lunch. You got another formation. You got your lunch, and then you got your afternoon classes. And then, if you're like a upperclassman, that being a sophomore, junior, senior, you got some free time. But if you're like a freshman, it's a different experience for sure. I don't know the best way to kind of encapsulate everything, because it is very unique and very different. And I'm probably, if there's any listeners that are going to military college or thinking about going to military college, it is definitely its own ecosystem. It is very unique. But speaking more in terms of growth, personal growth and stuff, I think it was exceptional. Putting me in positions of leadership, quote unquote leadership, all of us kind of make fun of it, but it definitely is. I mean, you're getting put into like managerial type of roles at times.
Yeah.
And if you don't get it done, you've got like faculty members, you've got like captain, like legit actual officers in the military or colonels or who, they're looking at you. They're like, "What the hell are you doing, kid?"
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pressure that's on you. It's basically like they definitely tend to turn kids, young girls and young boys into men and like grown men and women that can handle their own, but I think where it kind of fell for me is that maybe the technical side of things, like maybe the quality of the education system. I mean, it's definitely not going to be on par with like larger universities that have like research facilities and top tiered equipment and all this, that, it's definitely going to be less cutting edge. I mean, my accounting department, there was 3 professors, 3, and my accounting classes consisted of the entire accounting and all the kids that were in the accounting pathway, which was probably like 40.
Jesus.
Yeah, so pretty small, and it just. I think that's where it lacks. I've heard that it has a very good engineering department, stuff like that. So, but that's another thing. So that's, I think, where my school definitely excelled in, was the personal development. Kind of just you need to get shit done type of thing. Get it, instilling in me that go getter type of personality.
I think the biggest difference in a school like Georgia Southern compared to the Citadel is that when you have 22,000 students, you have to find your own place. Like, you have to, I mean, you could just go through the motions and graduate, but if you want to have any semblance of competitive resume, skill set, whatever experience, you have to find that. And I think a lot of the time, what I always say is that you're never just gonna always have the ability to find exactly what you want and get it. But sometimes all the time there is an element of luck to everything. But the people who really succeed are the ones who are able to capitalize on that luck. And I've always kept that in the back of my mind. So when I go through things, and like when I was searching, and when I was a junior trying to figure out what the hell I was going to do, I kind of stumbled upon our school's sales program, which was, you could minor, you could. So my degree is a BBA in marketing with an emphasis in sales. So it wasn't its own separate thing, but you could take classes to get that emphasis. But what happened out of those classes was that I stumbled upon, the school had a sales team, which was really more of like a group of students in independent study who competed against other schools in role play scenarios. I mean, and that was it. But in that group of people, you had very, very heavily type A, success-driven people. It was a good crowd to be around, for the most part. People who weren't just, they're going to go out. You're in college. You're going to go get drunk on Thursday night. And showing up on Friday is going to be a bit of a chore.
Yeah.
But when it came down to business, we kicked ass in what we did. And I liked being in that group, and that helped round me out a little bit because it brought me out of that. It definitely brought me out of my comfort zone. It was something new to me, but I found success in it. Did it for a year, and it was something that was unique to me, and I liked that. It was maybe 12 people at most at a time, And at the point when you can step forward, I'm the most senior in this group. I'm the one who's going to compete. That felt good. And when I talked to potential employers and stuff, they didn't know what the hell I was talking about. They were basically like, "What do you mean you took sales classes and did a team? That doesn't make any sense." They're thinking, they're 50 years old, thinking this is my job. Like, are you like mocking me?
Yeah.
But then once you explain the academic side behind it, the application, they realize that it's things that they had to do, or if hopefully had the chance to do, bypassing some of that entry level learning the ropes type of stuff, getting used to getting told no all the time, figuring out how to have conversations that get somebody to lean your way, to persuade people, this things like that.
Softer skills.
Yeah. Being able, one of the very first things we ever did was walk into a room, see what sort of decorations and desks the person had, and figure out what type of person they are, and be able to respond and react with that person to ultimately get them to like you. So you're not going to walk into a very, like we talk about type A, B. I'm saying an alpha person being very dominant. So we're talking about the Donald right now.
Yeah.
You know how he shakes hands, all very dominating.
Yeah, very.
You're not going
type
to
A.
walk into that and try and over dominate somebody, especially if you're in a sales role, because
Right,
you're trying to persuade them, and you can get to an equal level. But things you learn like that. But all in all, that was my kind of place that I found. It was a tight group of people, and I learned a lot of cool things, and it was something unique. But I had to find that. It didn't just like come up and it was just a thing that you got to go do. I mean, if I hadn't
You
have
had to
found
make
that,
it your own.
yeah, you can easily get lost in a sea of 22,000 people.
I bet, yeah.
And for me, going back to that piece of that element of luck and being able to capitalize on it, I probably applied to 20 different companies. Some of them that I really wanted, some of them I didn't. Shotgunned my resume out there, see what stuck. Went through recruiters, multiple, sort of not IQ tests, but technical tests for more engineering oriented sales roles, that sort of thing. But what it ultimately happened was that on Christmas Eve, I went to Christmas Eve party and had a conversation with a family friend who worked at a software company. She was in their marketing department. And I told her, the stuff that I was working through right now, just graduating, and, I expressed my interest with having that technical background. And she said, look, we do, this is, banking software. So it's technical in nature, but we just started talking about bringing on somebody who can kind of bridge that gap and learn this stuff moving forward. It's a selling environment, but you're in a very conservative, technically driven environment. I talked to her, gave her my resume, a cover letter, stuff I've done, to send it off, and interviewed with the company, got that job. I mean, that was nothing. None of that came from school.
Yeah.
That opportunity came purely out of luck.
Yeah, I think that kind of hits the nail on the head. And this is the same thing for me, too, on how I found my jobs. The two that I've had in the past couple of months is knowing, like, personal relationships.
Yeah.
Like, that, you're going to have much better luck for employment knowing someone. You have to know people. Like, you got to actually, like, maybe a phone call or them, like, personally. That's probably your best ticket into any type of business, any type of, employment, is knowing people. My first job, like I said, was actually working with my college, and I remember he was the CIO of the school, and he just finished up another job, working for the state of South Carolina, and he came into our class and he was talking about what he does, and he's basically, he's the CIO, and handles a lot of their technical information security, what type of technology that the school is using, things like that.
Yeah.
So, and I was like really he was a great talker. And I remember I had the conversation with him afterwards, and I was just kind of telling him what I was interested in, and I basically said, I want to do what you do, sort of.
Yeah.
At least in my mind at the time, that's what I was thinking. Oh yeah, I want to do that. And I just kept talking with him, and he told me, just email me, and I said okay, and I sent some emails. We had a little conversation here and there, and then next thing you know, he's like, I got a little job opening up, and do you want it? And I was like, yeah, definitely. And because it happened at the perfect time too, because I was just finishing up my degree in December, and the job started January, so it was just kind of a quick 1-2.
Yeah.
And so that worked out for me. My second job is right now I'm basically working with my cousin, who is a database engineer for a large dental technology type of company, and I'm kind of like piggybacking off of him, and he's like, he's like the master, I'm the pupil, but he works for him. Well, he just started his company, and he's now working as a contractor with this large company. And I'm, like I said, I'm just kind of piggybacking off of him, master, pupil, learning all I want. And I like it. I mean, I really enjoy it. And again, it's a personal relationship there.
So, I mean, we've talked for like 45 minutes now. We've spilled basically where we came from high school, what we went through college, kind of the path that we took, and where we stand now, vaguely enough.
Yeah.
So, with all of that information, what would you tell somebody who wanted to pursue a similar path to what you're doing now? Say they're a junior
Oh boy.
in college.
A junior in college.
Or maybe first semester senior. So they're still in school. They have a little while, but they're starting to send off resumes. They're doing,
Okay.
they're in the middle of that search.
Okay. Okay, for if and as software development right now is a huge, it's a big thing. It's very popular, and there's all kinds of resources to learn. I think the big thing with my limited knowledge as of right now, but I think I have a pretty good take on how to go about it. With software development, depending on where you are in your education. So if you're a computer science major, you're probably eons beyond me. So you probably don't need my help. But for the computer science person can also take this advice if they so choose. But if you're like a business major, or heck, if you're a Spanish major or something, and you're like all of a sudden, oh, this is not what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to do like software development. I want to do something in the tech realm. When it comes to tech and stuff, it's all about what you can do. They don't care so much about your degree as much. Some businesses do. They say they do, but really the bottom line comes down to
how many certifications you have.
Certifications do help. I will say that for sure. But when it comes to development type of work, it's all about what can you produce. So that being said, if you're still in college and you want to do this, I would hit the ground running and start learning off of like a good place, I guess, would be like Team Treehouse or something, because they've got like tracks and stuff that you can like pick and just go from there. It depends on what you want to do, like because development is such a huge thing. Tech is a huge thing, but in general, build up your network. Who is the one person that right now personally that does that type of work or is in that realm? And I would hit them up. just as soon as the podcast is over with, just go and or while it's running, I don't care. Just go and email them or give them a call, and start talking to them about this. And it kind of snowballs from there.
Yeah.
So if that's the kind of work that you want to do, I think that's the best way to do it. Build up that relationship, those relationships with those people, and go from there, and start hammering out and start trying to produce some content, like make a website, make an app, make this, make that. You know what I mean? And it comes with time, and you get better and better. I guess for the time being, see if you can pick up some random job, and on your free time,
just make ends meet.
Exactly. So, but yeah, that's my best advice I can give on that. What about for sales or whatever business world? Yeah, I guess
mine would definitely have to come down if you are a, say, first semester senior, or potentially second semester junior, where you're going through internships or looking for those full-time jobs. Getting used to interviewing is crucial.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been on enough interviews now to know that you have to be trained. You can't just, most people, I should say, can't just walk into an interview and be able to carry themselves in a way that they're going to view as professional. Because you have no experience with that. You're going to walk in, you're going to hand in a resume, and they're going to ask you, hopefully, very thought-provoking questions on their end to see what type of person is actually sitting on the other side of this table for me. Not what's on this piece of paper, but can this person think? Can they articulate those thoughts? And have they done anything that is of value? Going back to what you were saying, is of value to me.
Right.
And the biggest thing, can they learn? Are they coachable? Can they learn? That's a big thing a lot of college students think, in my mind, is that they should know everything coming out of school. It's a damn joke.
Yeah.
It's impossible that you're going to have all the knowledge you need and the skills coming out of 4 years of something.
Yeah.
You have to walk into a job being open to learning new things.
Oh, yeah.
So I would say interviewing is a key thing. Having a strong and unique internship, and not just I worked at Granny's store, something on the weekends.
Be able to talk about what you learned.
Yeah,
from it.
something that has a deliverable. So if you had, like, for me, I had multiple presentations and things like that. So I had a long multi-slide presentation that I gave to my boss now. And I went through and pulled stuff from my BI classes. I had deliverables I could show him. Said, this is what I have done. These are the things I've gone through, and I can do this for you. So having the experience and the proof that you actually you can do things. You're not lying.
Yeah.
You have shown that you have some sort of
right
skill set, and you have quantified that. Yep. Because at that point, if you know how to interview and you've shown that you're coachable and you have a baseline skill set, you're pretty much set to go. As long as you don't have something that's very, very against that company's culture, or you're way off in left field in terms of your degree or interest in that company. Like if you had a degree in accounting and you were going to go work for some sort of PR firm for that, you're not going to be competitive in that arena.
Yeah.
So as long as you have the interviewing skill sets, the experience and stuff, and a good resume, that's what's going to be able to get you in the door. That's not going to keep you there, but that gets you in the door. What keeps you there is that you're actually in an environment where, like you said in the very beginning, you want to grind it out. You want to stay late. You want to learn all these things.
Yep.
And that you have the emotional, you've bought into that job.
Yep.
Basically.
What kind of advice could we give to like people that are freshmen, or maybe they're like just getting into college, or maybe
Yeah.
they put off college for a long time and they're thinking about getting into college. Like,
I would say, especially now, it's 2017.
yeah,
So when we started college, it was 2012.
yeah,
LinkedIn was not nearly as big in 2012 as it is now.
yeah,
Right now,
yeah,
if you do not have an active and strong LinkedIn page, you are doing an incredible disservice, because that is how recruiters find you. That is how your future employers find. They go through. You don't just go through a background check and a drug screen. They go through your LinkedIn account and see, kind of, do you care? It's different than Facebook. It's not looking at the things that you've put out there. It's looking, does he care enough? Does he have a network? You should at least have a semi-strong network of students, teachers, and stuff. Because once you get in the realm of, we're going into the junior senior year, you have contacts. You talk about who you know. You have maybe third degree contacts. So you know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. You have some sort of opportunity to reach out. I think being able to build your network, a real network, not just like, I know my guy's friend and I have his email like written down on a gum wrapper in my pocket.
yeah.
Put it
down. Yeah, like,
so when you reach out, like when you said call that guy, email him, if you send him a message on LinkedIn, you've got your resume on hand, you have a professional looking picture, and you're not just some stranger. They see, hey, you're connected with so and so.
Yeah.
You're more of a real person to them at that point.
Right. What about like majors and stuff? Personally, I think if you really don't have any clue what you want to major in, go technical. You cannot go wrong with technical. I think anything in the technical realm, STEM, just go STEM. If you don't really know, but for some reason you're going to college, I don't know why, but do STEM.
Yeah, I would agree. If you can do it, this is based purely off of logic and what's going to be in demand in the future.
Yes.
Is if you are able to code or build and work on heavy machinery, or if you're very strong at math and know ways, and once again, working
science,
to apply it somewhere.
Right.
If you're a science-minded person, you can definitely go to grad school, get all of the information you can, but find the places where you can walk out and go, I know I can apply what I've learned to this. Because we were talking, I guess we were talking about it a little bit earlier, I can't remember. But we're talking about AI.
Yes.
And AI is kind of encroach into the workplace. And people are worried, in McDonald's, the robots are going to take over the cashier's jobs. Going,
right.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we're going in different degrees and different speeds.
Right.
And that tells you have to be flexible enough to be part of what's in demand.
All right.
If that's STEM, and that boils down to being in STEM. But if you're not really the math person, but you like working with your hands, don't go just to work on cars. Go to school, get a baseline engineering degree, learn how to work on machines, technical machines. Learn to do maintenance on the things that are going to take someone else's job. Don't let your job be taken away by something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, always be on top of like the latest technology. And it's it's not hard. I mean, it's all over the place. It's in your face. It's on the news. It's very easy to be on top of like the technology and stuff that's coming out nowadays. So it's take note of that. And really just and try to follow suit and go with the flow. You're not gonna stop the future. People get scared. It's just it's where things are gonna go.
Yeah.
That's how it's gonna be. So
we're coming up on an hour now.
Yes, we're coming up
Do
on
you
an hour.
have final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I think another great tip. And I often did this, or didn't do this rather, is separating yourself. You've got, at the end of the day, it's a job. You do this for work or for money. It's not you. I think a lot of millennials, especially millennials, tend to tie their entire being into their job or their major or whatever. Like, this is me.
Yeah.
You can't do that. We're human. We're not robots. We've got a vast amount of interests in random things. You can be like a anesthesiologist that has an interest in like baking or something. You know what I mean? You're like, oh man, I like baking a lot, but it's your job. It's like, at the end of the day, it's a job. So be able to understand to separate those two things. So I think that's my advice.
I will definitely echo that. We are people, and people are not perfect. And based on that, if you are sitting in the position we were talking about, a senior or second semester, junior in college, don't kill yourself because you don't know what you're going to do or where you're going to be in 6 months. It's a terrible feeling.
Yeah,
I've been there.
I've been there too.
But just like I said, there's always an element of luck. But you have to be prepared to capitalize on that luck.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call it luck either. I would just it's an opportunity. It just comes out of nowhere, and you just reach out and hang on and go for the ride.
Entropy, man.
So, I guess with that being said, this will be our closing. So,
well, guys, we hope you got to get a good glimpse of where we're coming from and our story and some of our advice to you. And just to sign off, my name's David Todd.
And I'm Ari Yates.
We look forward to talking with you again soon.
Bye-bye.